welcome to this first episode of Modernity. This is, the second to last episode of the course. So for those who, made it through this far, it's been quite the ride. And, within the Modernity episodes, first we're gonna go into, very much the modern implications and, in the sense of what's going on in modernity right now, tying it in some sense back to some of the things from the past as well, but also, go into, a possible way forward in the second episode of Modernity. And try to, reintegrate these different lessons and aspects into a coherent whole. Now, when it comes to the loss of myth and meaning, yes, so there is, this split between art, poetry, myths, practical skills, and technology. They used to be united. And, when it comes to myths in particular, but it also, then ties into art and poetry. It was originally, seen as the speech of the gods or, inspired man and contains truth, so logos. By Plato's time, the meanings have essentially reversed, mythos is not to be trusted, and logos, in Socrates' sense, walks with a straight gait in the sunlight of reason, seen as human logic. And in ancient, philosophy, logos was used by Heraclitus, a pre-Socratic Greek philosopher, in a different sense. He used the term logos to describe the universal law, or the principle that inherently ordered the cosmos and regulated its phenomena, which would align to the self, or, within Taoism, the Tao. And Heraclitus saw the universe as constantly changing and in a state of flux, and logos as the ordering principle that, gives shape and meaning to this constant change. There's also, bringing, in that sense, both the impermanent of the universe together with the permanence of the cosmos. Like we said, by the time of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, logos was linked to the faculty of human reason or logic, and the knowledge man had of the known world and of other humans. But it's also important to point out, in Plato's philosophy, logos with a big capital L is the, still the principle that governs the universe, the organizing and regulating force that gives coherence and meaning to the cosmos. And in Plato's view, logos is the underlying principle that connects all things in the universe. And it is the force that creates order out of chaos and brings harmony to the world. And, he believed that the human mind was capable of comprehending the logos through human reason and logic, and that this understanding was the key to achieve wisdom and knowledge. And overall, Plato's understanding of logos reflects this broader philosophical worldview, which saw the universe as a rational and ordered whole, and human reason as the key to unlocking its secrets. And I would instead say that the true meaning of logos and reason is that which emanates from the self, and not our rational or logical mind only. And, while there may be similarities in the concept of logos as an organizing, principle or force between this view, Heraclitus' view, and Plato, Plato's understanding of reason and knowledge is, rooted in the power of human intellect. And Jung also believed that reason and knowledge are not solely rooted in conscious intellectual processes, but are shaped by unconscious factors such as archetypes, symbols, and the collective unconscious. And in this sense, reason and knowledge are understood as emerging from a deeper, more holistic aspect of the psyche that is connected to the self. So if reason is seen as emerging from the Jungian self, it would mean that our rational and logical processes are shaped by unconscious factors and are interconnected with a deeper sense of meaning and purpose that emerges from the self. And this would be a different perspective than Plato's view that reason is primarily a product of human intellect and the power of conscious thought. And the self, which is a central concept in Jungian psychology, represents the integrated and unified center of a person's psyche, encompassing both the conscious and unconscious aspects of the self. In this sense, the logos within this rephrased sense is coming from the self in an individual, while the cosmic soul or oversoul represents the collective unconscious, the shared unconscious of humanity and the source of archetypes that shape individual and collective experiences. And it is important to see that intellect is not bad, but the source of reason and meaning is not intellect. And Plato's philosophy, emphasized reason as the primary means of achieving knowledge and understanding of the world. And in his view, the intellect was the highest faculty of the human soul, capable of transcending the material world and apprehending eternal truths. And also, Plato believed that reason could also help to moderate and control the instincts and emotions, which he saw as potentially harmful if left unchecked. But what is important to note here, with regarding to what we talked about with the mystery schools, is that need to integrate that into the whole, to actually, align these three things together. The instinctual, the emotional, and the intellectual. So they work together. And the conflict, thus is eliminated. And it's still true that, intellect is capable of transcending the material world and apprehending eternal truths, but it's important to note that that this apprehending eternal truths is, not just connected to just intellect, but it's the interplay between intellect and the self, ego and self, leading, to the self, the sun, when we, would now, bring up again that what we talked about in the Age of Aries episode, the first one regarding Plato's cave, and, looking at it from a Jungian mystery school lens. And Jungian psychology, emphasizes the, the importance of the unconscious and instinctual aspects of the psyche, which are, often ignored or repressed in modern Western culture. And Jung believed that the human psyche is not just rational and conscious, but also contains deeper layers of unconscious material that shape our behavior and experience. He saw the anima and the animus, that we also talked about in the first and second episode, as archetypes that represent the unconscious feminine and masculine aspects of the psyche. And he believed that integrating these aspects into conscious awareness was, necessary for individuation and personal growth. And in this sense, Jung saw reason and instinct as complementary rather than opposing forces, and believed that a healthy psyche required a balance between conscious reason and unconscious instinct. That's the two twins within the individual coming together, where then there is this coming together still of, the anima and animus, in that sense of wholeness. And in that sense, Jungian psychology emphasizes the importance of, exploring and integrating the unconscious material, which includes instincts, emotions, and symbolic imagery in order to achieve a more complete understanding of the self, but also of the world. And overall, this shift highlights the importance of, considering the unconscious and shaping our thoughts, beliefs, and experiences, and suggests that, there may be deeper truths and wisdom that can only be accessed through an awareness of, the workings of the unconscious. And also, giving us the ability to see the world for what it truly is, instead of, having these illusions or delusions happening, the shadows projected onto the wall of the cave. And in the last episode, we also went into technology a bit, and there is something more that I want to talk about that regarding mythos as well. Similarly, like we said, Technus shifts from its ancient centeredness within communal well-being to an evaluative abstraction which alienates imagery and imagination from making and restricts it to a quantifiable product as opposed to a qualitative process. And it goes from communal to individual, and the distinction between the speech of logic and the speech of mythos is also important to point out in this, as it is at the core of this shift. Mythos, is connected to qualities of an oral culture, the prime instrument for cultural reproduction over the course of generations. And mythos is performative and communal and connected to the eternal truths told in myth. Thus mythos is relational and qualitative. And logic, on the other hand, are qualities of a literary culture. And logic is centered on the individual. The logical, thus connecting to, the individual and the quantitative. And myths and dreams are in this disconnected view, not to be regarded as containing truth through the means of symbolic meaning. Hence, the creation of fixed forms dictated by institutions which, loses the organic connection to the self and the changing forms that it produces. And I really also want to point out this one great source regarding this, which is the return of Hephaestus, reconstructing the fragmented mythos of the Maker by Gerald Chiantis. And I really recommend one to read this. It's a recommended read regarding this, because it sheds more light regarding these things. But also, one can go deeper into like the AI stuff with that as well, and it has implications for this as well. But the most important thing, because I do want to go a little bit into AI because it's like relevant. But it in the original sense, it relates to the process entirely. So the act of making from start to finish. When it comes to this sense of creation, and having this more intimate relationship to what is made, so it gives the object an essence, a piece of the soul, so to speak, of the person that is transferred into it. Where when it is disconnected from the entire process, it loses this essence, relationship, and hence sense of meaningfulness. Like how a work of art entirely made by an artist has more essence, soul, and spirit in it than something simply generated by an AI. Where this essence of, relationship between human and what is being made is not present. Hence, AI art in that sense has no true essence in it. At, best an imitation of the process, but it cannot recreate this essence in art. As it is relational and not something that can be computed. It can imitate that based on like existing art, but it's not truly capable of producing it on its own. I think this then also well connects to the idea of community and well-being. That the author of The Return of Hephaestus, reconstructing the fragmented mythos of the Maker, is talking about. both of which are relational things, not computable, not measurable by numbers, as much as the essence of the piece of art can be measured in numbers. And it is thus qualitative and normative and not quantitative, as it is relational in essence. In Jungian terms, we would hence say it is connected to the anima or the animus as messenger of the soul, which is not present within AI. And this relational aspect, is an integral part of the connection between consciousness and unconsciousness.
Today